Save the Audubon. This is the model of the Audubon ballroom that I started building in 1995. It took about 2 years to complete because I had to paint 400 individual figures. The figures initially were white in color. They had no color to them. They were figures of human beings, human figures. And I had to paint each individual figure. Because you can imagine, none of the figures came as African Americans. They were all Caucasians. So I had to paint 400 African Americans, of course. First I would have to maybe paint their faces first, and then when the faces would dry, I would have to paint their clothes. I recently tried to go back to the hobby store where I bought those figures, and the company no longer makes them. The company no longer makes those figures, those human figures, of various pedestrians, the police. Oh, this is a speaker. This is a self-contained, self-powered 30-watt speaker with a built-in amplifier that was housed inside the model. It was very, very powerful. Had a nice sound to it. Nice low end, nice highs. And it had a cassette deck attached to the model too at the base. All this was attached to the base of the model. And it was connected to a cassette deck. And the cassette deck had a very, very dramatic soundscape, you might say, soundtrack to the scenario of Malcolm X. You would hear his voice. You would hear various people speaking about Malcolm. When it had a music track to it. It was really, really, really nice. And because of space limitations, I took the speaker out. And shortened the bass, as you'll see in later photos. You'll see the speaker missing. You'll see the cassette deck compartment, which was that little gray compartment you saw to the side of it. And as you can see the speaker there, and that gray compartment had a folding down panel. The panel folded down where you could have access to the cassette deck, so you could change tapes to your liking. I plan on putting the speaker back one day, and without the primitive cassette deck. As you know, that's almost an obsolete format, cassette decks. It had an acrylic case on top. The model had a transparent, large acrylic case. The case, I believe, cost $120. And then the case got broken. I had to go back and get another case. And I think the cost of the case wasn't $120 anymore. It was a little higher than that. But the model is encased in a large transparent acrylic case. I had to go to a place that fabricated acrylic, which I tracked down in the Yellow Pages. And I brought the model down to them. They made the dimensions. Also, this model used to have lights inside some of the various stores and compartments, and even inside the ballroom itself, there were lights. And some of the stores had flashing neon lights inside, and it was this is it without the case, without the acrylic case on. You can see one of the neon lights flashing from a distance. You can get an idea of the size of it just by looking at it. I don't have the exact dimensions of the model in front of me to tell you, but you get an idea of the size of the scale just by looking at it. Just by looking at it here. This is when this model had survived a lot of catastrophes. It was in a fire. It was in a fire at a it didn't get completely damaged, but it did suffer from some damage. And we retrieved it.
New York City, I don't know why I love you. Maybe it's because of you, mine. Like so many others, I found it all too easy to stand off at a distance and criticize.
These are various scenes from the model. I don't know if I stated that I built the model in 1995, and of course the model depicts the assassination of Malcolm X, the assassination that occurred on February 21st, 1965. These are scenes of the captured assassin Hayer outdoors with the crowd beating him and him being protected by the police. That was Talmadge X Hayer. These are some street scenes surrounding the model. Various scenes. Various shops, various stores. They had a Buick auto dealer. Here's a pimp and a sailor making a business deal. Here's the pimp with the gold Cadillac or the gold Bel Air. Here's an aerial shot of the fight scene. Another aerial shot. This still was actually taken. Here's some stills of the real ballroom. Audubon Ballroom is located in Washington Heights in New York City. These are real old photos here. These photos were taken, I believe, around 1930. Those two you just saw. 1925, something to that effect. These shots are inside the ballroom. Look at the length of the ballroom. Look how long that ballroom was. Here's the entrance into the ballroom. There's the ticket gate, ticket window. This is the roof of the ballroom. That's that arc, that famous arc that you always see. Some more roof shots. This is the foyer to this theater. Audubon Ballroom had a big theater inside also. This was the entrance to the theater. There's a diagram, blueprint. The booth seats. The booth seats. William Fox Audubon. That's a very old picture there. Very, very old. This is another old picture when the theater used to be called the San Juan Theater. And then it was renamed. There's a side shot of the balcony. There's the entrance there with the two double doors with the diamond windows, the silver doors. That was the entrance that led upstairs to the ballroom, the dental supply. Here's the inside. The marquee, the Audubon Ballroom. Here's some live footage of the modified Audubon Ballroom.
I don't know I love you. something inside of me I feel. New York City, I don't know why I love you. I don't know why I love you, but it's real. I don't know why I love you, but it's real. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I love you, but it's real.
Trivia. We intend on doing this trivia spotlight in future projects that we do. The answer was Gladstone X Alexander. Gladstone X Alexander, as you know, was a Nation of Islam member who, when Malcolm was kicked out of the Nation of Islam, Gladstone, known as Butch, went with Malcolm. He left the Nation of Islam and joined up with Brother Malcolm. These are photographs I took of Butch. And Butch was designated, which many people believe to be a bodyguard. But the truth of the matter is, Malcolm didn't really have but one bodyguard, and that bodyguard was Reuben Francis. You know, Butch appeared to be a bodyguard because of his presence. You know, he was on security, but to officially designate him and call him a bodyguard would not be true at all. If you know the functions of a bodyguard is paid to protect an individual or individuals. There's training involved, there's sacrifice involved. So that title bodyguard is inappropriate. I took these pictures of Brother Butch at his home, and we used to travel a lot. Here we are in front of Malcolm's house in East Elmhurst, Queens, and here he is with Sidney Saley, Earl Grant, and we took this picture in Harlem. Here he is with Bruce Willis. Bruce is an original Malcolm X Commemoration Committee member. And here's some other pictures we took in Harlem. But bodyguard, no. Here's an interesting gentleman named Meathead. Meathead was an associate of Bumpy Johnson. Yep. Bumpy Johnson was the one that offered Malcolm his services. You know, but Malcolm turned the services down. You know. You know, Butch appeared in a movie. He appeared in Across 110th Street. Yeah, yeah. And the way the movie was made by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and the way that movie, Butch appeared in that movie is, ironically, here's a poster. Original poster from the 110th Street, across 110th Street. Here's some scenes from it. Across 110th Street. Scenes from the movie, co-starring Paul Benjamin, Ed Bernard, Robert Ward, Antonio Fargas, Norma Donaldson, Gilbert Lewis, Marlene Warfield, Nat Poland, Tim O'Connor. That's why you saw Joe Tex with the Miracles appearing at the Apollo Theater. Yeah, the movie was shot in Harlem. A lot of it was shot on location. And let's listen to it.
No man's land that separates us from the black in Harlem.
Brother, I'd rather talk to you than that racist honky pig, man. Why won't you believe me, man? I'm telling you the truth.
Anthony Quinn played the racist cop who had no respect for African Americans whatsoever, right in their own community.
Give me phone in your body if you don't answer this man's questions, you hear me? You put him into this man's questions, you understand?
You've gotten a job sooner or later.
Look at me!
Oh, Paul Benjamin, boy, he gave a hell of a performance. That's what you call acting.
You're looking at a 42-year-old ex-con nigger!
Good God. Huh? Now, we getting ready to see scenes with Butch. See the red arrow? Follow the red arrow. You'll see scenes of Gladstone.
Big mouth.
Whenever you see the red arrow, you're going to see scenes of Gladstone, Alexander.
Come on, get me a lawyer. Stick your dead on your ass. Lawyer.
Jesus.
Hey, nigga!
Is that the man?
Don't make me no nigga mind.
You want your brains all over that wall, brother?
You hear some more scenes of Butch coming up. Follow the red arrow. There's a scene where Butch is going to be pushed down the elevator shaft. He's going to be pushed down the elevator shaft. Yes, Butch. Here it comes. The scene is coming up. The movie was shot on location in Harlem. Here it comes. He had a quick cameo role with these professional actors. Here comes the scene. Here go Butch here. That's Butch going up the steps. Here it comes. Ooh, that's a long way down. Yep. That was the end of Butch.
I want to talk to you.
You know,
You're not talking, are you?
the Nation of Islam, under the command of Yusuf Shah, Captain Joseph, had intimidated the movie company, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, and strong-armed Metro Goldwyn Mayer to employ blacks and give them jobs while they were filming in Harlem. And there he is. He forced Metro Goldwyn Mayer to give some blacks some jobs when they were filming in Harlem, and he got Butch the role. The small role that Butch played was due to the pressure that Captain Joseph put on Metro Goldwyn Mayer. He put that on the big executives of Metro Goldwyn Mayer. Here's the big shots. So they complied, and I guess they gave us some peanuts. You know, they gave a few jobs, but he strong-armed them. He used some Al Capone tactics, and they were very effective. You know, peanuts, but at least something was done. A lot of people will question why Butch made an alliance with a known sworn enemy of Malcolm. Now, Butch went to work for Nicky Barnes after Malcolm was assassinated. Butch returned to the underworld. You know, he was distraught, fed up, and after the death of Malcolm, he just said, to hell with it. I'm going back to the gangster days, you know, because Butch was a former gangster. So Butch went back to the gangster stuff. And he was a bodyguard for Nicky Barnes. Yeah, the death of Malcolm was devastating to a lot of people, man. I mean, it's a miracle most people didn't wind up in an insane asylum after what happened to Malcolm. You know, to see an historic figure blown away right before your eyes. This is Butch's wake. I don't have the stats in front of me as of exactly when Butch passed away, but Butch returned back to the ancestors.
Of our beloved brother Ronald G. Stokes. Ronald Stokes was not the least among the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was one of the highest. He was the secretary of our Los Angeles mosque. And as we explained in that rally on May, many of you thought that we should go right on out then and make war on the white man. You wanted to do it yourself, didn't you? Didn't you? You wanted some action then, didn't you? Because you don't like the idea of white people shooting black people down, do you? And you're ready to do something about it, aren't you? We know you are. And the white man should be thankful that God has given the Honorable Elijah Muhammad the control over his followers that he had, so that they can play it cool, calm, and collected, and leave it in the hands of God.
That your message, apparent message of love that you brought back from Islam is the real reason they're after you, because you're not hating as hard as they want you to.
Well, I never did hate anybody hard. But I do know that when I wrote that letter saying that there were white people in Mecca, it shook up a lot of Muslims, because most of the Muslims who follow Mr. Muhammad absolutely believed that it was impossible, physically impossible, I should say divinely impossible, for a white person to go to Mecca. And my trip there shattered that image, or that misconcept.
Anyone called you directly, Malcolm?
I've been receiving calls ever since I left like most of the Muslims.
And what sort of calls? Malcolm, you're disenchanted in view of the fact that these men who were your brothers are making threats against your life?
No, because actually it's not their fault. Most of them, now Joseph and the officials, they have a knowledge of what it's all about. But the rank and file Muslim brother does not know what it's all about. They are out of religious sincerity. They think that they are doing the will of Allah by protecting a man who I myself taught them was divine. So I don't in any way fault them. But those who are over them and give the orders, and actually the ultimate order comes from Elijah Muhammad himself. As long as I represented the black Muslim movement as an example of morality, unity, and militancy, as long as I could do that, I represented it. It was when I realized that it could not be represented as that I came on and started working among the non-Muslim Negroes, as I announced in January, and I had no intention, or rather March, and I had no intention of ever even speaking on this. Had they left me alone, you still wouldn't know what really took place.
Why are they threatening your life?
Well, primarily because they're afraid that I will tell the real reason that I'm out of the black Muslim movement, which I never told. I kept to myself. But the real reason is that Elijah Muhammad, the head of the movement, is the father of 8 children by 6 different teenage girls, 6 different teenage girls who were his private personal secretary. The one who first made me aware of this was Wallace Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad's son. And I had stated in a newspaper article about an effort to take my life back in January, and at that time the Muslims denied it. In fact, they tried to make it appear to my brother that I was insane. But on a program in Chicago called Hotline, that's moderated by Wesley South, John Ali, the national secretary, admitted, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, one of these days last week, that they absolutely were going to kill me.
What get out of the way you take to protect yourself from this threat?
I take no steps. I have a rifle. If anybody comes to my house without a good reason, I intend to try and use it. That's all.
Right now?
No, I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago. And I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Hello, and instead say, Salam alaikum. He said the whole thing will change. All you got to do is say Salam alaikum. Let's say it slow. Salam alaikum. 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 You got it down pat? See, you haven't said it for 400 years, so you find a hard time. But if you can say Lewandowski and Stanowitz, all those little kind of funny time Polish words, you should be able to twist your tongue on that African kick for a change. When you go among our people in Africa, you don't find people getting drunk. You don't find people fighting one another. You find everybody trying to get together today under his own vine and fig tree. That's right. You find everybody practicing love and harmony and unity and forgetting all of the things that bring about division or divisiveness among us. And here in Harlem, from today on in,